Right, here we go. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So we are a mitzvah number 2, effectively. Let me share the screen over here. Okay, can we see this?
Yep.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so what I wanted to do this evening is to try and kind of work out chukim and mishpatim. Yeah, what is the difference between a chok and a mishpat? Meaning, last week we established that there is a debate about giving reasons for mitzvahs. There's a risk of doing so that you undermine the mitzvah, and therefore you ultimately end up circumventing the mitzvah. But on the other hand, there's a great advantage to relating to the mitzvah, connecting to the mitzvah, understanding the mitzvah, etc. And kind of both of those, I guess, sides or kind of arguments or approaches we listed last week. Now, people might say, well, hold on a second. Well, wait about reasons, not reasons. There's things in the Torah which have reasons and things which don't. There's something called a chok and there's something called a mishpat. What is a chok? Something without a reason. Paraduma. Right? What's a mishpat? Something which I understand easily. Kibbud ve'im, for example. It's a mishpat. Yeah, it's a mishpat. So why are you arguing reasons, not reasons? We categorize mitzvahs in this way. Good question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what I'd like to show you is actually differences between a chok and a mishpat are not as vast as we think. Yeah. So it's as follows. Let's start shaving things off ever so slightly, shaving off the misconceptions, and then we'll get to a middle ground. Yeah. Let's start on extremes. So on the extreme, you'll say, well, a chok, no reason. Mishpatim, I understand the reason. So I'm hopefully going to show you that both of those are incorrect. Right. Firstly, is it true that chok has no reason?
That we can understand.
It's just not an obvious one.
Oh, very good. So there's a big difference between saying there's no reason versus there is a reason, I just don't know the reason.
Yeah.
Don't know it or don't understand it.
Yeah, it's different between saying, if you put something in your hand, you've got nothing in your hand, or you've got something, I just can't access it. I don't know what it is. Right? Big difference. Yeah, conceptually and philosophically, massive difference. Does Hashem have mitzvahs which don't have reasons? Right?
No.
Massive difference. Right? So there is an argument as to what Rashi's view is. I got in the footnote. You have the full disclosure, but certainly the majority view seems to be that chukim do have reasons. Yeah, do have reasons. How do we know? Because they're famous personalities in Jewish history, Moshe and Shlomo, who knew all or nearly all of them. Right? They understood them. Right? So that's that. The chok has a reason. Okay.
Wasn't there something about Shlomo HaMelech who said, like it basically sort of went, I couldn't understand the red heifer, and therefore that's made me doubt that I understand any of them. Like it wasn't. Am I making that up, or did it sort of follow that he thought he had reasons for everything, but when he realized he couldn't understand the red heifer, he realized he couldn't actually understand all of them?
There could be something like that. We'll get to that soon. Yeah. In other words, what we're going to say is that is the various degrees. Even with the fact that there are chukim and things that we don't understand might kind of reveal to us that, hold on, you shouldn't be too quick to assume you can understand all the rest as well. Yeah, but again, that we'll please go get to that. Okay, nice. So let's fine. Let's move on a little bit. Okay, so what about mishpatim? Let's go to the other side. Mishpatim. So we said, well, mishpatim are really, 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 really easy to understand, right? I mean, is that so?
I don't think I'd ever say they're easy to understand. There are logics and reasons that can be explained. Whether one understands them all or not is a different thing.
Okay, great, fantastic, right? And that's also a big difference. In other words, difference between saying that I understand mishpatim to the nth degree versus I can give or I can offer an approachable reason for them. That's a massive difference too, right? Because asserting or assuming that we can delve the depths of even the mishpatim is not simple either. After all, Hashem commanded it, and we can't fully understand Hashem. So whilst, yes, Kibbud Ve'em is seen, our appearance is the quintessential mishpat, that's very nice, right? But do we understand that to the nth level? Do we know what that work in terms of soul, in terms of, all that kind of stuff? There's certainly even elements of mishpatim that we may not understand, right? Or layers, we call them, yeah? Gideon was just adding that it could be that the messaging in terms of us is we have chukim to reveal or to show that we don't even understand some of the other ones. That could be. That could be. All right.
I remember hearing a shir which said because we follow the chukim, that's we need to have chukim. We need to have things that we can't properly understand, so that we can show Hashem and the rest of the world that when we're doing the mishpatim that make sense, quote unquote, like don't steal, don't murder, whatever it might be, we're doing that not because it makes sense, but because God told us to. So you need to have the chukim in order to be able to show and prove that we're following the others because also God commanded us.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, I hear that. Right. In other words, one is kind of a general message and reflects the other. Nice. Okay, I like that. Okay, says the Ramban. So he's talking about chukim, right? He says that in this one, we're going to see a couple of Rambans here tonight. Eina kavana bahem. Their intention, you can kind of, there's English here if you want, if you don't trust me. Shetia gzeras melech malchi amlachim b'shum makom belotam. Right? Don't think that chukim have no reasons whatsoever. Kichol imras eloka trufa. Right? All of Hashem's sayings are trufa, are pure. Rak hachukim hem gzeras hamelech asher yachuk malchuso bli shigala to'altam. The chukim are the gezeras hamelech, Hashem's decrees, which their reasons, let's put it like this, are not revealed. It's a nice phrase, to'altam. Their reasons are not revealed, la'am, to the people. Veinam nenim behem, and people do not take pleasure in them, meaning they're not easily, oh wow, that does something for me. Right? Alamaharim achareim belibam. On the contrary, we kind of worry, we're concerned about them. And as we're thinking, like, what is the reason for that? Makabel and Osam, and we accept them, listen to this, the Yiras Hamalchus, because of fear of Hashem's kingship. As we accept them because we accept the king's word. Right? There's certain laws which just don't make sense. But if you accept the government, you accept the laws. Right? So it's similarly over here, there's some things that we wouldn't have ordinarily kind of been able to give a reason to, but you accept Hashem, you accept those as well. Therefore, chukim are laws that we don't get pleasure from or benefit from in the same way as mishpatim. They don't look like societally they're as helpful and useful, etc. About kulam, but all of them are batam nachon v'tele shlema. All of them are with good reason and have a genuine benefit, or a full benefit, we could say. Good? Okay, so again, what's Ramban done in summary? That chukim have reasons. Okay, and he adds over here as follows. He says, but this is a bit later on in Vayikra. That was 1919, this is 2615. Because chukim do not have readily ascribable reasons, and people who are foolish mock them. And Yerman, they say, Ma chayfetz l'Hashem. What does it matter to Hashem? What difference if I don't wear shatnez? We're like, who cares? What difference? Oh, what difference if I wear it? Whatever. Why does Hashem care? Right? Who cares if we burn the cow in the red heifer, but nizrak aleinu ha'efer, and we throw this efer on us? Right? Like, who cares? Mishpatim, everyone wants them. And everyone needs them. There's no kind of societal balance or functionality without the mishpatim. Yeah, in other words, they're readily beneficial. You can see why society needs them, but not that is their end game. Do you know what I mean? In other words, it's not that society needing them is the end. What's the word? Is like the is kind of the soft davar we'd say in Hebrew. Is the end point. There's many deeper levels as well, but society benefits from them as well. Okay, so there's a nice summary over here, which is the following: why did Hashem make chukim? So Rav Yerucham Levovitz, who was a mashgiach in Meir Yeshiva many years ago, he says there's basically little difference in reality, right? It's just, you can't fully understand mishpatim, and you certainly can't fully understand chukim. So what is the difference? Difference is just in kind of majority of people's brain, meaning most people can easily comprehend, ascribe, assign a reason for, understand mishpatim, whereas for chukim, most people can't. Yeah, that's in others. There's no qualitative chasm between them. The elements of chukim, that are slightly beyond us, the elements of mishpatim.
This it looks like Rav Wolber was explaining the idea that I was talking about. So maybe that was what the shir was based on.
Oh, quite possibly, but we're not there yet. We'll be there in about 35 seconds.
Reading ahead, dangerous stuff.
It's true. I shouldn't share the screen anymore. Okay, so Kliakar says, just an interesting point as well, that Para Adum is the quintessential chok. It's the chok with the least reasoning, kind of apparent reasoning. Right, now we're there yet. Now we're there, I should say. I used to have a rabbi in school. He used to say, we're not there yet. Now we are. He used to say,
like kids in the back of the car. Are we there yet?
Yeah. Anyway, in his Sefer Olam Yedidus, this is a revolver, Shlomo Volber, we quoted him before. Chukim are ensuring that we're properly serving Hashem. If you obey mishpatim, it's possible you're only serving yourself. Yeah, one who obeys chukim is doing so to serve Hashem. Yeah, in others, that means that's what you said, Gideon, to an extent. In others, it's there to reveal, it's there to kind of create a mindset which reflects on all other mitzvahs as a result. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Right. I want to show you these two Rambams because they're absolutely phenomenal. I'll just show you how far down we're going. Over here, and then one last, I think, Sefer Chinuch. I wasn't planning on doing that. Oh, we can do that as well. Yeah, all right, we'll do that as well. Only if you want. Okay, so there's two amazing Rambams. One is about Chukim, one is about Mishpatim. Okay, we'll do the one about Mishpatim first. The Rambam says in Hilchas Me'ilah, it says, Roi la'adam lisbona mishpat Torah kadosha. A person should look into the Mishpatim of the Torah. V'leida sofinianam f'kikocho, and to understand the depths of their understanding or kind of depths of their rationale according to your understanding. For davash lo yimsa lo tam, if you don't find a reason, lo yeda lo ilah, you can't find the cause, ali kal be'inav, don't treat it as lightly in your eyes, lo yaras alas halashem penifretzbo, right? And do not kind of just basically discard it. After all, it's Hashem's mitzvah. Mishpatim, what are mishpatim? Listen to his definition. Mishpatim shetaman gali. These are mitzvahs where the reason is revealed. The tovas hasyas and balamazeh yudua. And the benefit in this world is known. Go on issa gezer, like theft and shvichas daman and murder and kibbud al v'aim. But chukim and mitzvah she'ein taman yadua. Chukim, where we don't know the reason. Amar chachamim chukim chakosi or chakti lacha ein lacha rishus sahar b'hem. Hashem says, I've given you these chukim and don't think too much about them. Yeah. So in other words, it's similar to the Ramban, but he has a sudden slant. He's saying, go and find reasons. Go and ascribe reasons. Yeah, that's mishpatim. What about chukim? So you'd assume that the Rambam, oh, I got the translation there, that's nice. You'd assume the Rambam would say when it comes to chukim, like, don't ascribe reasons. But he doesn't. He says, Afal P, over here, shekol chukia Torah gezeros, even though most of the chukim of the Torah are gezeros, in others, the Hashem's decrees, and you can't really fully understand them. Nevertheless, ro'lis bonen bahem. You should look into them. Whenever you can give a reason, give a reason. The rabbi said, Shamelech Shlomo, this is what you were saying, right? King Solomon understood most of the reasons for most of the chukim. Yeah, most of the reasons for most of the chukim. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Rambam is saying, go give a reason even to chukim. Yeah, go give a reason. Now, while we're dealing with giving reasons, there's a bit of a health warning, and we're actually going to finish on this note, the health warning, which is the Sefer Chinuch and one or two others, that just careful when you ascribe reasons to Mishpatim and certainly to Chukim, kind of have the humility to realize these are not the ultimate reasons. Yeah, these are not the ultimate reasons. All right, how so? So he says, it's quite flowery actually, Sefer Chinuch, so I'm going to try and outline what it's talking about. This Sefer Chinuch, remember, it's written anonymously, and he's writing to his bar mitzvah boy son, and he is telling him, kind of outlining the mitzvahs and reasons for each mitzvah. Mitzvah 95 is about the mitzvah of the Beis HaMikdash. Yeah, and he's going to say why, why build the Beis Hamikdash? What's it doing there, etc. And he gets very, very poetic and almost fearful of ascribing a reason. Right? He says that that there's. I'm going to do this in English, paraphrasing. He says that there's 70 ways to understand Torah. Each one has various kind of spin-offs. And each one requires a lot of wisdom to properly understand. He says, and even so, even though it's impossible, or even though it's hard, one should still try, right? Because whether you try a little bit or try a lot, you're going to surface with something. Yeah. In other words, what he's saying is just careful, a bit of a note of caution. Yeah? You're going to give reasons to mitzvahs, but ultimately they're like tastes. I think Gideon, you mentioned this a few weeks ago, the word for tam, maybe Jonathan did. Tam is a taste. You're never going to be able to necessarily get the kind of depth of reason, and this is definitely what's happening, but a taste is good enough. Yeah, taste is good enough. And therefore, very much in the Tanya points it out, he says, even when a reason appears to have been revealed, yeah, this is not the ultimate reason. There are layers of hidden depth far beyond our understanding. And he says this is true of every prophecy as well. Interesting, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
But if it helps us to keep them, is that part of it? So even though our logic, our human logic is not the same as Hashem's, and we don't understand everything, if we can find a way to help us understand enough to do something, then that's surely a useful step.
100%. 100%. It's definitely useful. It's for sure, no question about it. It's useful. And it's a good exercise. We're encouraged to do so. But it does come with a note of caution. Right? In other words, if you're going to ascribe mitzvahs and reasons for mitzvahs, and then the reasons become irrelevant, then just be careful. Okay, so the last couple of points here is number one. We're going to deal with this later a little bit. Even when we get a reason for the mitzvah, the details may not follow the main that reason. There's the laws within the mitzvah. Okay, that's one. But number two, he points out over here that the Kuzari points out that even if you're going to work out logically kind of what a mitzvah is, the only way you could understand the details fully is a what he calls a Masorah, and that was an unbroken chain. Yeah, and it's the deal like Karbonis. Even if you get closer Karbonis, but are very nice. Why is it one cow at that time or 3 cows at that time? And then the details are like mind-boggling. Yeah, and he says finally, this is the Maral. He says that the Rambam writes that Hashem gave us the mitzvahs to test and purify creation. He believed that every mitzvah has a reason, but the details don't have a reason. This is the big debate. Rav Hirsch was very much against this. Rav Hirsch says if a mitzvah has a reason, that reason has to flow through the details as well. It sounds like the common consensus is not necessarily so. Okay? Okay, that is basically that. It's a good place to start. Remember, next week we don't have a share. What we're going to start with, please God, next time is general